All right, so we'll go ahead and reconvene to open session. Can I have a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll go ahead and reconvene to open session, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and we'll adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion's approved. Announcements taken in closed sessions. There were no actions taken. And we'll go on to recognition. So Spreckels Elementary School Spelling Bee champions.
Yeah, tonight we had BB spellers a while back, but now we have the 4 top Spreckles spellers, and thank you parents for working with us. We had the council, but thank you for being here tonight. Teresa, do you want to introduce your spellers?
I would love to do that. We've rearranged, so.
Good evening, everyone. I am very proud of our spelling bee, all of the finalists that participated. It's a big deal. They go through 3 different tests. The whole 4th and 5th grade, then the top 40 with me, and then the oral spelling bee with the top 20, and then to our finalists. And they were able to compete at the Lyceum spelling bee that was hosted at Hartnell College. They did really well and represented. And I always like to share that there's always seems to be a correlation, which is logical, that our spelling bee champions are also way up there at the top of the million-word reader lists. And so the connection between being a good reader and reading a lot and being able to spell well is true. So, and thank you to the parents for doing such a great job with your kiddos. And again, we are very proud of them. So our first place winner, Lillian Shilcock, is not here this evening, but our other 3 are. So I'd like to introduce them. Second place was Ethan Scott. I want to give you a certificate. I'll shake your hand again. Congratulations.
He has a few million words, doesn't he?
Ethan is an 8 million word reader. He's our record holder currently at Spreckels. We've never had anybody read that much. Sometimes I tell him it's not really safe to walk around and read. He's going to run into something. But he's a well-rounded student. He does lots of good things. So he doesn't just read, but he does read a lot. And our 2 runners-up, Gloria Wang and Lucas Hannon.
Yeah, should we get a picture?
Yeah.
Do pictures. Thank you.
Do you want to take them? Teresa, you and the 3 up here? We got a
Oh, are we supposed to be in it? Or are we?
I know.
Right. That guy looks a little old to be in elementary school.
Parents, if okay with you, you will post to our Facebook. Are you okay with that? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but you don't.
Kate, Kate, can you send that to me so I can post it? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
See you, buddy. Congratulations.
Okay, so individuals desiring to address the board, and I believe this is an item not on the agenda, and we'll go ahead and call Michael Urquidez.
Good evening, trustees and staff. Michael Urquidez, district resident and former parent of the district.
Hot mic.
Does this have a clock as well, my 3-minute clock? So again, thank you, trustees and district staff. Michael Urquidez, district resident and former parent of the district. As stated, I'd like to speak on a matter that's not on the agenda tonight, solar. It has come to members of the community that you're being proactive with solar, and congratulations. We fully support that as a community. I think some of the concerns we hear is when you're almost taking 17,000 square feet of lawn area out of a elementary school. That's almost, a third. And we believe there's other alternatives that should be looked at. As a trustee as well on a school board, Salinas Union High School District, they've done a lot of analysis and have solar at every one of their school sites. And we know, not all schools are created equal. One, budgetary and restriction of, kind of an envelope to be able to put solar. But I've kind of done my own measurements, and I do believe that you could put 5,000 square feet of panels over your bus parking area. You could put also probably another 3,000 over your playground area. And I would just ask you to go by Monterey Park School and look at an example of what they do with their playground, 5,000 square feet of solar. To put in perspective, almost 17,000 square feet of lawn, that's what Salinas High has solar for a school of 2,600 students and probably over 100 staff there. Now, mind you, you're not doing 17,000 square feet of panels, but you're taking that area out of basically for youth sports, and you're really tying the hands of future trustees and school administrators. Youth activity is important. As we know, I was blessed that my kids as students here, they utilize that field for, and again, you have it on the agenda tonight, Toro baseball is an example, Toro Bulls, and that's an extension of the school. It's an extension of the community, and there's not enough facilities to be able to support those youth events, and we know Buena Vista has been very accommodating as well over the years. We know it does impact. Sometimes I know Dr. Trallo had to, play gatekeeper between, some of the, soccer teams and things like that. But the other concern I have is when you put solar panels next to a baseball diamond, over time, the integrity of solar panels, anything you put in sun is going to degrade, and they're going to become brittle. And next you're going to have baseballs, striking those panels that close to a baseball diamond. And two things are going to happen. One, the district's going to have to replace them, or Toro Youth Baseball is going to have to pony up a replacement. So predictable, preventable. Or baseball is going to be asked to leave. And so I just think that there's other alternatives that could better be utilized and not take 17. I would say statistically to take a third of lawn out of a school site is probably, I haven't seen that anywhere in Monterey County, and I would imagine in the state. And I would ask you to ask your vendor if they've ever taken that much lawn area with a school that has that limited space. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, nobody else has turned in a slip, and so we'll go on to bargaining unit presentations. Spreckels Teachers Association.
It's on the red. Yes. Steve Dodd, STA President. I'd just like to thank the board for your continued efforts to kind of get an unvarnished view of the sentiment of the teachers. So your articulation meetings, they're appreciated. I was at an STA meeting yesterday, and the fact that you guys are taking the time, it came up and it's appreciated. So I guess the mixed bag part of it is that, there's a sense of trepidation about what next year holds. I know that you're probably aware of the resignations and retirements and whatnot, and you're just kind of left to deal with the cards that you've been dealt. So in that regard, we hope for the best, and hope that we get the best candidates out there that want to come work at this district. So I'll step back, and then I'm going to approach it from a non-STA standpoint. So I'm Steve Dodd, just an old guy. I'd like to ask that the board maybe approach the vandalism issue at BV in a maybe a different, unique way. I don't know what the total cost of the vandalism is. I mean, I know there's it really chaps my hide to have those students, the band members who come in early and, you know, they're contributing, and to have that garbage happen, it irks me. You know, we deal with the TikTok inspired stupidity, and we deal with just the regular everyday carelessness, but I would hope that you would exhaust every measure, and if that means offering a reward that exceeds the value of the damaged merchandise, there's no honor among thieves, and I doubt that there is among vandals either. So let's see if we can pry open some lips and get somebody to fess up.
Thank you. California School Employees Association, CSEA. Okay, board member comments. All right, Steve?
I don't have any this month.
Oh, come on.
I'll save it for May. Where's Bree? You're Bree tonight? Someone needs to tell me to turn my mic on. I have no comments tonight. I'll save them for May. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Frank?
Yeah, I would like to go on record as saying.
Make sure your mic's on, please.
I would like to go on record on saying I am also opposed to the solar project. I think our first loss is our cheapest loss. I know we haven't broken ground yet. I'm not sure what the procedure would be to get out of our contract. But I want to be on the record saying I think we need to look into that. I know there's a whole bunch of people out there that I'm disappointed that they're not here today, because I've been fielding a whole bunch of questions saying, if you want to have anything done about it, you need to show up, you need to write a letter, you need to make it your displeasure with the project public. So for all you watching that have been complaining, I am disappointed that you're not here. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Peter?
I'm also with Frank. Is it on our agenda for next month? Can it be?
It's going to be.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that's all I got. As long as it's on the agenda for next month, I'm good with that.
All right. Great, thank you. My comments are just, welcome back to everybody from spring break. It probably feels like spring break was already quite a while away, but hopefully people had some time to rest and rejuvenate to get through the last push, because the academic year is almost done. So I hope people are taking care of themselves. And I just want to acknowledge too that, I really appreciate being able to attend the teacher articulations and to be able to meet with staff and teachers and hear directly from them. I think it's just really valuable, and I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the candidness and that open dialogue. So I hope we can continue to do that
You guys
every
have
year.
one more next Wednesday, by the way.
Oh, great.
Just
I'm
a
looking forward to it.
You two again.
Probably. Maybe it's on my calendar. I'll be
But it's
there.
at Buena Vista this time. Sorry.
Great. So thank you. Okay, so I don't think we received any oral or written communications, and pass it on to you for your report.
Thank you. So this is the busiest time of year, but it's also the most fun. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I do want to list quite a few student activities that have gone on in the last few weeks that have just been awesome. And most of them, the pictures on Facebook, so if you want a closer look, take a look. But there's been Science Week at Buena Vista. Ms. Pagarin can give details, but we owe that science department a lot of thanks, because they tried to do their best to make up for the lost science camp experiences the 3 years lost. So that was really cool. Fifth grade has state fair a couple weeks ago. It was really nice. They were a bit creative. They were statues, and you had to go in front of them and hit the button, and they started talking. And they did a great job, but I almost felt bad because some of them probably did it like 40 times. And by the 40th one, they were tired, but they knew their stuff. Fifth grade science fair was today, and again, that was really impressive. And I'm really, really proud of the next one. We had our first ever celebration for our new 20 reclassified English language learners. This is a huge thing because in the years past we've had 2, 3, 4, but this year Mrs. Villarengo has really done a wonderful job identifying the kids, because it's a big deal. It's a graduation from a program that allows them to take other things in high school. To be a reclassified student, you have to meet like 4 major criteria, and it's hard. And we're going to have them back here in May, so this will be pretty full for our recognition, but we're going to bring the reclassified students here, and their families came out. We had cake, and Teresa and Mrs. Villarengo passed out certificates. It was a really nice night. Speaking of ELL, our program, our English language learner program, Mrs. Villarengo began LPEC testing this week. So that's the first criterion. You have to get a 4 on that, which is kind of hard, and that starts all the other kind of analysis. Speaking of state testing, all kids in grades 3 through 8 will begin the CASP, which is the state standardized test score, in May. And the calendar is ready. The hoedown is back. And if you'd like to go, it's going to be on May 6th, Saturday. It's going to be fun. The theme, a little different this year, a little more, I think, casual. Is that right? You don't know yet? Well,
I know I'm going, I don't know the theme.
okay.
I looked at the invitation, saved the date, but
It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's a bit more casual, but it is May 6th if any board member wants to go. And if you didn't buy tickets, I can send you the link to do that. No, it's the PAL. Yeah, it's a good venue. And I also want to thank the board for doing the articulations. And again, we'll have our 4th, which is the 2 of you at Buena Vista next Wednesday at 2. And I know there is a lot of comments about solar and concern. We are inviting back Sizerco. It's an energy efficient project, but solar seems to be the area that there's more questions about. So they will be here next month to answer the board's questions. So that'll be your opportunity. And that's it for me.
thank you.
So a lot has happened since the last time, especially because it's, been postponed. But as Eric had mentioned, we did our science week, and we don't traditionally do a science week at Buena Vista, but due to the pandemic, our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders did not have a chance to attend a normal science camp these past couple of years. And so what we did is each of our teachers dedicated a week to labs. Our 6th grade teachers did chemical reactions our 6th grade teacher did chemical reactions all week. 7th grade did squid dissections throughout the week. Kind of was a smellier lab. We didn't plan for that. And throwing in some air freshener didn't really help it too much, but it was great. No, we didn't do it. And then our 8th grade actually did these bottle rockets out in the field and launched them, and it was really exciting. The kids loved it, very hands-on, learn by doing, Cal Poly model. Woo, woo. Anyway, it was a great week, and so we had a lot of success with it. We are looking currently for options for science camps for next year, trying to move that to our 6th grade group because there's less really interruption with sports. 7th grade usually always has a sports interruption. 6th grade, they don't have as many because 6th grade sports are all about learning the sport and it's less competitive. So currently looking to switch that down a level to 6th grade. Tomorrow we have our second dance of the school year. We were originally going to have our dance right around the time that all of the flooding evacuations started. And so we have postponed that. It is a somewhat of a semi-formal dance is what ASB chose. So it'll be nice to see some of these kids all dressed up. It's not required to attend, but I won't be able to recognize most of them tomorrow night. So it'll be a fun night. We've done a couple spirit weeks since then. We're right in the middle of trimester 3. A lot of things coming up, including state testing, including our field trips for 8th grade and our honor roll trip coming up. With the good, there's always a little bit of bad. Mr. Dodd did mention we did have some vandalism occur on Wednesday morning. Currently looking at cameras, trying to figure out what we can find out, and hopefully we get somebody to fess up soon to help pay for the cost of the damages that occurred. So we'll keep you updated as we find out more, but with any behavior, it does take time to figure out any more information. But with all of that, we do have some fun, exciting times ahead. I encourage you guys to come out anytime you want to get a tour of the campus and hang out, or even serve some lunch. We had one drum that had a small hole in it. Somebody had used a drumstick that was not the appropriate drumstick for the drum. They usually have kind of like a softener on it. They used a regular one, so it created a small hole. We had one trumpet that had something stuffed inside of it. And then there were 2 clarinets with slight damage, but trying to figure out if that was misplaced incorrectly or if somebody had taken it out of the case. So trying to figure that out. Then there was sheet music that was thrown all across the room. So I believe it actually happened after school. we had a lot of activity after school on Tuesday. We had another school on site with a wrestling match too, so I'm not quite sure if it was our students or not. With the camera visibility, it's hard to get a good angle on it, so we're checking in and out at this point, but we'll keep you on the loop. Any other questions? I know. I wish I could was musically inclined, and I never am. Miss Thompson actually had me try to match her at the beginning of last year, and she sang and I sang, and she goes, "Well, some people struggle with their musical abilities." So I've always struggled, but thank you. I've been educated. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I heard about the vandalism, and it sounds very traumatic for everybody that this has happened. So I know there's a great sense of loss that's being felt. Spreckels Elementary.
I also would like to share, there's lots going on. It's springtime. It's always very busy. I haven't seen you for a while because the last board meeting I was over at school doing family reading night, and it seems like a really long time ago. It was very successful. I think it was one of the best turnouts we've ever had in all the years I've been at Spreckels, and lots of fun. And at the same time, we were having our book fair and our readathon, and they both did very well. Our readathon is a new fundraiser we've been doing for the last couple of years through PTO, and really promotes the love of reading and also earns money for them. And we did over $10,000, so it's pretty cool. So very proud of all of that. We are in the second round of field trips. Most of the classes have already been on one field trip, and we're back to 2 this year. And the second grade today went to Santa Lucia Preserve. We're talking about that, and they love it. Mrs. O'Connell took a picture of her little group of boys that were on the ground with magnifying glasses checking out these very special flowers that were down there that you can only see, and it's just really cool. So they really enjoy that. And our 5th graders just went to rowing camp, and they're doing that now instead of going far away for the Gold Rush. Well, the 4th grade, the Gold Rush trip they didn't get to go to, so they got to pan for gold and do all of that. And 5th graders are tough sometimes at this time of year, and they came back and told me how much they loved it, a lot of them, so I'm really glad. 4th graders just came back from Point Lobos, and another group is going next week. So lots of good, fun field trips going on. As Dr. Tarallo mentioned, we just had, the 5th grade had their state fair, and they also had their science fair today, and that was absolutely awesome. The kids did a really good job. It's had some really interesting projects they were looking at, and some very good hypotheses and well thought out processes, and the boards were done very, very well. They also, had to speak to their parents and to the 4th graders who came to visit, but also to our judges, and our 8th graders came with Miss Owens to judge, and it was fun having them back on campus. I was telling Kate that I made sure I fed them because they're always hungry, and they did a phenomenal job. They were very professional, asked really good questions, and were so kind and patient. Some of the 5th graders were very nervous, didn't really want to do it, and I watched some of them really kind of talk them into it. You can do this. Let me help you, and ask really good questions to get them going. So I'm really proud of how the 8th graders took care of our 5th graders. So that was really nice. And the 4th grade did a very special mission project, and they put all their missions out, and everybody got to come and see those. So it's been lots of fun. Parents have been visiting a lot because of all those things, and that makes it really, really great. And it's really important that yesterday was the kindergarten egg drop. So also very scientific, but they had a really good time. And last but not least, we have received all of our materials for our new science adoption. I want to give a big shout out to Janet Sheppy, our librarian, because she spent all last week getting all of it inventoried into the classroom so the teachers would have it in a timely way so we could use our new stuff for the last trimester. And we're starting, so I'm really happy about that and really thankful for Janet taking all that work. It took a long time. So thank you very much.
I'm wondering if we could close the door over there because it's blinding me. Is it blinding you too? Thank you. Thank you. Is anybody here from SUF, PTO, Bobcat? Yes, please.
Then I'll turn this one off. Bobcat Club actually just graciously donated 3 history presentations to our site. We had one this week. They're the Ancient Artifact Company. We had a presenter come and talk about the American Revolution to all of our 8th graders. And then they come again next week and they will talk about ancient artifacts to all of our 6th graders. And then they'll come about the last week of school and do a medieval knights tournament with our 7th grade class and actually be in the gym dressed up practicing medieval knight stuff. So I just thought it was really exciting and just a great opportunity. It was originally a request from our 6th grade teachers, and they said, well, let's make this something that the whole school can benefit from. So I wanted to give a big shout out to Bobcat Club.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to business. So March 2023 fund balance report.
So this is the transactions through March 31st. We're at 75% of the year. And as you see in the middle column under actuals, we have a surplus of $136,000. More revenue has been received than expenditures. That's really great news, obviously, at this point in the year. And we still have a remaining 27% of the revenues to be received, which with 25% of the year to go, that's a pretty typical trend. All expenditures are encumbered, the biggest ones, of course, being certificated salaries, classified salaries, and benefits. So we see with those encumbrances and year-to-date expenditures, we have an excess of 6% projected through the end of June. If you ever have specific questions about this report, just give me a call. Or send me a text.
All right. Program update.
So under facilities, the facilities committee met last week, and we put together our priority list. You will see that information with some detailed pricing at the May meeting. On the food service side of things, we have a team meeting next week with both the Buena Vista and the Spreckels food service staff. Jennifer, the registrar, Brianna, our tech director, and myself, we're all meeting to discuss the conversion to the new student information system and how that will work alongside Mealtime, which is the food service information system. One of the big changes is going to be capturing those free and reduced applications, because we need all parents to fill those out, whether or not, well, obviously there is no free or reduced lunch because it's universal, but we still need those applications because they drive our unduplicated counts. It drives parents who may be eligible for free transportation. So the team is meeting next week to talk about planning for next year. And on the transportation front, I just want to thank Heather for the incredible work she's been doing, juggling all of these field trips and trying to get the regular routes done, staffing issues which have continued to plague us. She just puts in so much time trying to make all of this work, and it's really quite something. We also have some very loyal retirees that step in and help us between Anita and Janie. So I know that they're very anxious to get through the next 6 weeks and just take a break from It's been a tough year on the transportation department, but Heather does a wonderful job. So thank you, Heather, if you're watching.
Any good news on transportation? Any?
Well, the good news is that Heather's done an incredible job of managing it.
Yeah, managing a
That's
tough situation, yeah.
the good news.
I mean, on any movement on potential
On staffing,
applicants?
no.
Okay. Any questions?
We're sunshining next month with CSEA, and that is one of the priorities of the management salaries. So you are correct. And it is on the radar.
Great. I wonder if we could get a brief update on the toilet project. Is that completed now? I think
The
last-
notice of completion has been issued. It's been open a few days, and as with all new constructions projects, we're working out a couple of kinks. The vendor's supposed to be here. I don't know if they made it out today, possibly tomorrow. We've had it open, then we've had to close it, so it's not 100% open as we work through some of the construction kinks. And then you'll also see under the consent agenda the final change order for the project. So once that's approved, we will issue the final payment and technically begin the warranty period. So that's the good news, is that we have 365 days to work out the kinks on the contractor, if you will.
And I have one more question. So I know we've heard a lot about the solar panels, but can you tell us about any forward movement on the whole project?
Well, to
in
date,
general?
the plug load management part of the project has been installed. You see one blinking right there behind Eric. That's our friend Bert, the little white box in the wall. We have done all of the HVAC coil refreshment and resurfacing. So they've come out, they've cleaned all the coils, and then they resurface them with a treatment to obviously extend their life. And we are active with DSA, getting the pieces of the solar project that have to go through DSA for approval. Once we get the drawings approved by DSA, the construction schedule will begin. And alongside the solar piece is the HVAC replacement at Spreckels School and the HVAC install at Buena Vista School, where we're putting a unit in the kitchen. There's actually a replacement there as well, the library unit. So at this point, those pieces of the project that touch DSA, which is the Division of State Architects, we are at the mercy of DSA to move through the architect review and the plan review before construction can start. And our project manager is fully aware that our summer's coming. We want to get the things that we know need to be done when kids are not here. So hopefully we'll have more information on that soon.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. All right. Class configuration.
So this is a snapshot as of March 21st, I believe. March 20th, I apologize, which was before the meeting that was rescheduled till tonight. At this point, we were at 8:57. Since this time, we have reviewed the interdistricts, and Eric has approved the majority of them. Am I correct, Eric?
For
At
certain
the middle
grades.
school, at the elementary school.
For certain grades.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this thing is misbehaving. There we go.
So we're still, I mean, our enrollment's down as a lot of districts are, but it's early. It's going in the right direction. We're making, contingency plans if we need to perhaps look at combinations, perhaps look at different options. Teresa says hopefully we'll talk to her staff to get their input if we need to do that. But again, it's early, so no panic yet.
Is it view? My mouse is. I'm trying to get my mouse to scroll. It's this piece it's this guy that's messed up.
Any questions? I'm just throwing it all out there. So, I mean, feel free. Don't wait. You can jump. Okay. Don't feel shy. All right. Well, I have a question. So, and I know we've had some combined classes this year, the last couple of years. Have we gathered feedback specifically from those families as to what, if that's how that's worked out, or anything they recommend or things they like?
In all honesty, I've got feedback from the teachers themselves, and it's combinations are not the ideal.
Okay.
Because their impact to the music program, to the art, because you're sending half the kids here. It takes a lot of extra work. Again, it's not what
It's
we
not
want
ideal.
to do,
Okay.
but this drives our budget too. So we need to be as prudent as possible about putting together reasonable class sizes. So right now, again, combinations, again, not committing to them, but it is an option if we need to go that route. Perhaps raising some class sizes a bit in grades, or just, we will watch. Unfortunately, interdictions don't come in perfect little groups, right? Sometimes we have a lot for a grade that doesn't have any room, and sometimes we don't have any for a grade that has room. So we will cross our fingers, but we are talking through contingency plans. We have some natural attrition, so right now we're kind of holding and seeing how things go. We won't have to lay off, which is great.
Could you point out where the predicted problems?
Well,
I don't
it might
think
not
it's-
look like a problem, but class sizes of 20 and 21 are like 4 or 5 kids below how we budget. The way we budget for TK, there's going to be 20 to 1s of what we're shooting for, and that should work out. Kindergarten, we look 25 to 1. First through third, 25 to 1, and then 29 to 1 in fourth and fifth. And if you take a look, yeah, these look great, but for every 20 kids you don't have in that grade to get to those numbers, that has a dollar sign that we're not getting in the budget. And it's just a balancing act. So certain grades, for example, up here, we usually have 4 kinder classes at 25. You can tell that's down. We did fill up the third one with interdistricts, but these other ones, like the 21, 22, and 20, those are down about 3 kids per class.
So from a parent perspective, awesome.
There you go.
Fiscal position.
So it's awesome from parent perspective until we go 2 or 3 years, and now we're looking at cutting programs and laying off, because that's kind of how it works, right?
Only one section of TK?
No, up to. Right now we have 34 total. I think this is before the interdistricts were approved. We approved quite a few in TK and Kinder.
Okay.
I think 34 total right now. It's agendized, yeah.
They could comment, yeah.
That's your
Wow, I have this freedom.
Well,
Somebody,
usually through the slip. but-
wow, you mean if somebody wants? Yes, I'd love to hear from you.
As a community member and again a neighboring trustee, you have your work cut out, right? We know this is a California issue, the drop in attendance that we were talking about earlier, and it's very difficult for recruiting and retaining teachers, right? When you're competing against districts that have different funding sources. So I've mentioned this to a couple of trustees, right? You're not the only district going through this. You have other neighboring districts such as Washington, right? They couldn't pass the school bond. And when you ask the community members why, because they're saying most of the students that are attending their district live outside the district. Right? So I would believe that at some point, you're probably talking 3 to 5 years, that you folks really should consider looking at some type of merger consolidation with Washington. It was talked about 30 years ago before our growth spurt. As I said earlier, birth rates are down in Monterey County 17%. Our district, we're looking at $1 million of reduced revenue next year, but we have a $300 million budget, right? Much easier than the things that you're going to be dealing with. So again, from a vision, my former career as fire chief, that's what I specialize in, consolidating and merging fire districts. Is it tough politically? Yes. But at some point, you got to be fiscally sound so you can give your staff raises and your capital projects, DSA. As we know, that's our biggest expense is architectural, sometimes design. And, it breaks my heart when the school needs a paint job. I showed some of the trustees how the gutters are falling off the back of the portables at Buena Vista. This was the pride of the community, right, 30 years ago. If we don't, I think I'm talking. Unless you're recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Is, as a community member, it breaks our heart a little bit because we do the lower class sizes are great from a parent and a student perspective. But from the financial standpoint, right, it's a scary thought knowing that, again, our district's going to look at eventually, we're not going to let people leave when it's $15,000 a kid leaving. When we're going to be working with our labor group, right, and they're going to say, why are you doing that? Why are you letting, and we're going to be looking at pink slips or not being able to give cost of living increases. So Dr. Gus would probably be a great person to start this discussion in Monterey County, because Chular is going to be no different than Lagunita, and these other smaller districts are going to have the same challenges. But I would ask, as a community member, that you probably got to start looking, have a bigger vision, because this is, like I said earlier, there's no more future growth areas in the Spreckels community. There's no more in the River Road. Look at the general plan for the next 30 years. And matter of fact, there's legislation right now to prohibit growth in the rural high severity areas, right, for fire protection reasons. So just something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to school district absences.
This was a report that Steve asked us to bring back after we presented it the first time to see if there was any kind of movement or if it was related to all the illnesses over December, November, December into January, because we saw such a spike in, obviously from the purple column is the first year outside of COVID. So you see a big drop from 395 absences to 48 related to COVID, which is really good. There was a slight increase in unexcused, so we don't know if that's the trend of parents not bringing their kids. Maybe they're not COVID or they're not sick. Illnesses went way up. This is the really, I think this is what flipped with COVID. Illnesses are up, but they're not necessarily COVID. So you had requested that we just bring this, keep looking at it and see what we need. Because all of these represent a loss of ADA, but we certainly don't want kids at school that are sick. So this first one is Buena Vista. The second one is Spreckels, and you can really see the jump. Again, same trend. COVID way, way down. Illness is way up. And if you want to see this one more time at the end of the year, we can bring it back. We can certainly share it with the principals. We want to make sure also that we're coding things in a consistent fashion to capture what's really going on. Because as you can see, one of the options, for example, is flu, but you also have illness. So how are you making that determination? That's a conversation to have with the school secretaries, the health clerk, the principals. And this may look very different when we convert next year to Aries as well. I think, and I haven't been involved in all the trainings, but I think that the types can be, they're developed initially, converted from what we do now. If there's anything that y'all want to expand, or maybe, I don't know, maybe we can look at some of these and say, hey, we've never ever used it. Let's get rid of it. But all the ones here do represent some activity. You can see this one. This was quarantine, right? We didn't have a quarantine absence in 21-22, but in 22-23 we created that one. So informational. And would you like to see it one more time?
Well,
okay.
I wanted to see it monthly, obviously not in the summer.
Okay. Well, then we'll bring it May and June.
Any questions? Do we have the overall, like the academic year average attendance?
Yeah, I have it for the LCAP. It's down. It's below 95 for both. We do grade span. We do Spreckels School and Buena Vista. They're both about 94, 93, which is down a couple points versus
What we've
Yeah.
currently, what we had
Right.
prior to COVID.
Right. 93, 94% is really good still, but it's not to where our it's not where our goal is. It's not to our standard. Yeah.
Well, when we brought P2 earlier in the year, it was closer to 90, 91, 92. And
Was it?
those are, yeah, it's definitely down. It's the lowest that we've seen the drop. I don't know if you're pulling it from school-wise on the daily snapshot, it's
Yeah,
going
from the
to
registrars,
fluctuate.
it was-
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
date.
But the period reporting that's submitted then for funding P2 is not due until next Monday, so we won't have that until the May meeting. And that's not even annual, but that's the last snapshot that drives our funding. Annual could be used which will be the entire year, but we only use it for funding if it exceeds a certain amount. I forget the number, 10%, I believe your ADA has to jump, or your enrollment has to jump 10% for you to use that for funding. So P2 is the big one, and it's actually looking a little better than P1 was. And I think it is, again, going back to those November, December, January, all the flus, all the sickness. So, but yeah, you'll see the P2 report in May.
All right. Thank you. Building fund update?
This is informational only. I sent each of you, as required by compliance, the communication letter from the auditor stating that there were no findings related to internal control, fiscal transactions, or compliance.
All right. Doesn't look like questions, so I'll move on. And no action. Curriculum instruction, doesn't look like anything there either. Personnel, nothing to share information-wise, but action. First read, chief business official job description. So can I have a motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
These just capture the conversation we had before about widening the net. This is how it was sent out to the candidates. Monica made sure that the ones that applied were okay with the changes. So, and now we're just going through the process. Same thing for the next 2 or 3.
Okay. First read for the facilities manager job description. Do I have a motion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Nothing more to say?
Ditto.
Any other questions? Okay. First read middle school principal job description. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Motion approved. First read elementary school music teacher and middle school band director job description. Motion, please. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Nothing special here either. First read education specialist, special education teacher job description. Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So I didn't see this one actually in the packet.
Oh, it's up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is, I think, Tammy, you collaborated with Monica and Kate. Can you kind of summarize some of the changes?
We needed to add a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and this is for BV.
There's a lot that you have to be able to know with educational law and litigation, and we just want to make sure that they understand their role as a resource carrier with sped law and the understanding of ed code as well.
And documentation is changing with the state. That needs to be folded into the job description.
It's a temporary thing, right?
The documentation?
Yeah.
Sure. I think that seems unlikely.
You think it's gonna stick forever?
Yep.
The stuff that we're doing right now? The extra stuff? Okay, we'll see.
Things usually add, but never.
We'll see.
Any questions? Is this for district wide or is it just
It's
BV or?
We currently have a position that's open.
Okay.
this year for Buena Vista,
Okay, so it's been tailored.
but for future use, this would be great to use in upcoming years as well. If we had a future open.
Okay, thank you. Administration Information Committee's updates?
Yeah, since the last time we actually had quite a few meetings. Our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee met in late March, and coming up, Brianna Gann, our tech director, kind of made some recommendations about additional items, including something that looks like this for approval. The Bond Oversight Committee made their decisions to pass on to you, so you'll see those recommendations later on. We spent a half day as a safety committee training with Michael Kimball and Associates. It was active shooter. was a very good day. We highlighted kind of the things we're doing well, but we also talked about where we're falling short, and we're going to continue that work. Tammy and I went to another safety symposium yesterday. Very powerful. It was about it's actually from survivors of a shooting in Ohio, and it just really reinforces that we need to be ready. These types of drills aren't, they can be traumatic, but there's a reason for them. So we're going to continue that work. Facilities committee we already spoke about, and the LCAP stakeholders committee has been meeting regularly every month. We have another meeting on Monday. It's going to be kind of optional because I have a draft that's captured all our first two meetings, and that'll be shared with them. And anybody has questions will be invited to go. But it's a great group. I want to thank them. A lot of great suggestions. So.
And now the bridging program?
Yeah, so we talked about taking a look at our program. It's a 3-year program. We're coming to the end of year 2. It's really 3 phases, so it's including the after-school tutoring. We've had 2 sessions of that. This second session is going to go until, I think, the first week of May. The second phase is intervention pullouts. So it's Mrs. Ball and Kate has various teachers doing that, pulling out kids throughout the day. And then we'll have summer school. And this is the end of the second year, and we'll have it 1 more year. We go to the next slide. This kind of breaks down how many kids are taking part. Left-hand side is tutoring, and the right is the pullout groups. And you'll notice that based on each site's schedule, at Teresa School, there's a lot more kids in tutoring, whereas at Buena Vista, there's a lot more getting served in the pullout program. But again, a lot of the strategies, a lot of the instructions are pretty similar. Next, in the other parts, not necessarily bridging program, but intervention programs, our English language development program to the left kind of shows you how many kids we had, 63 total. And I mentioned earlier that 20 of those have been reclassified. That's a huge number. We went from 8% reclassification rate to 30 something. There's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of good work from Mrs. Villarenga. We have a new curriculum, but also a lot of the kids during COVID, we didn't feel like we had enough information to reclassify. So these are a lot of kids that probably would have been reclassified years past. The partnership with CSUMB, this has been fantastic. Mid-year, Dr. Chris put me in touch with a father of our district who happens to be the director of CSUMB's Reading Center. And we worked out a partnership that 16 of our English learners have been getting 2 days a week. They have their own little private mentor. They go on their Chromebooks. They have their own little tutor. It's been really a lot of fun. We are looking in the LCAP to expanding this program to a summer program and hopefully double the number next year. And this is kind of a snapshot at effectiveness. This is just one measurement. Once we get test scores, we'll add another layer of taking a look at the effectiveness. But to the left, for the Spreckels kids that were taking part, this looked at their first trimester rubric score, so 4, 3, 2, 1, in either language arts components or math, and compared with the second trimester. And in Buena Vista, this is taking a look at their first trimester GPA versus the second trimester GPA. So kind of different measurements based on the schools. And overwhelming majority of the kids are improving with the program, so that's great. Any questions by the bridging program?
When I see decline in a pie chart like that, I'm sure it's not that cut and dry. In that, there's got to be below surface level data there.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume they didn't decline in their GPA because they participated
No.
in tutoring. Otherwise, we got to do something different with that group of students, right?
That's why test scores will be much more a better measurement here, because this could be a kid going from a 2.4 to 2.3. They declined.
I understand.
Right.
And maybe we need to present that data a different way to see things
Yeah,
like that.
right.
So you don't I'd like to know more about why there's regression if they're being offered extra services.
Right.
And I don't know how many kids that represents.
Yeah.
If
When you
it's
compare
not
GPA to
full
GPA, it's near impossible to stay the same.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You have me at hello and stuff like that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And data in the hands of the wrong person can be dangerous. But that being said, I just, if I was the instructional leader on a campus, either campus, I want to dive into why that was, what that is, what that means, and what can we do differently with that group of students.
Yep.
And I realize there's probably going to be different answers depending on the kid.
Right.
But I assume that's already happening. That's an assumption, but I'm sure it is. But maybe when we see this again in the future, maybe present
Right.
that in a more subsurface level,
Got it.
deep little dive to see
Yeah,
what that looks like.
absolutely. Thank you.
I can talk about offline with you if you want. But,
No, makes sense.
okay.
Any other
Sorry,
questions?
Tammy, I forgot to, I'm like,
Yes, you did.
Bree would remind me.
So you were on a roll.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Great program.
I would just echo what Steve said. I would agree. And then I'm wondering if the Reading Center is going to provide evaluation on their own program.
They
for
actually
us.
have. They provided me and Mrs. Vierengo a bunch of their own graphs. It was a quick snapshot because I asked her like the day before, but he's putting together a more comprehensive evaluation. This is the guy that does this professional intervention. He said that most of the kids are showing great growth. So
Okay.
anecdotally, it's good, but we can come back with numbers later.
I'm complaining about the results overall.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Yeah.
I want
No, you're right.
to catch everybody.
Yeah, when I put it, I kind of knew that the GPA was that's all I had at the time. But
Yeah.
And one more question. Do we have any plans for the summer yet?
yes, we are currently flying positions for summer school. It's going to be close to a 4-week program from 8:30 to 12:30. The principals right now are in the process of with their teachers of identifying kids. Probably have one class per grade level. We'll try to cap it at 15 kids. K through 7, our 8th graders, we send them to the high school so they can get ahead in their credits.
Great.
And it's hard to come back to the school after you've been promoted. So yes, summer school's
Great. Similar to what we've had the last couple of
very
years.
similar, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Local control and accountability plan. This is it says 2.0 because this is very similar to what I showed you in November, but this is now an update of all the progress we've made. So instead of going item by item, do you have any questions about any of the goals or any of the progress? The short version is we're doing really well in meeting, our LCAP goals and actions. No? Okay.
And we'll be seeing the new
Right.
plan next month.
You'll see
Or
it
is it-
probably, you'll see, probably not. What happens next is I'm going to give the narrative draft of the program to the stakeholder community for their final thoughts. And then it takes a month for the budget stuff to match up to it. At that point, you'll see the draft, and we also need to post it to our website for public review and comment. And then in June, we'll have 2 meetings. One would be the public hearing, and one would be the approval. So you'll see it probably for the first time in completion before the public hearing.
Okay.
We're going to schedule those June meetings next month, eh?
Or later today, or
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Very well.
yeah. We have a date we're gonna propose. So
Yeah, we're.
I know I'm on the LCAP committee, but I haven't been able to attend. But I appreciate keeping me in the loop, and I've been
Yep.
able to look at a lot of the great work that the committee's doing. So it's looking really good, and I just appreciate all the work that the committee's doing.
well, no, thank you. So part of the LCAP is pulling in data and metrics to measure how we're doing, and this is the annual survey to parents. It's kind of like the version of the Healthy Kids Survey. Our 4th through 8th grade students in the last couple of weeks have been taking the version of, I feel safe at school, I have a trusted adult, things like that. We don't ask any personal questions. It's just, I feel that I do well in school. I get recognized for good behavior, stuff like that. This is the parent version one, and this asks just basic questions about the grade. I asked a couple questions about the transportation program and the food program. Overwhelming, for the most part, they're very positive about those. And then it gets into things like my child feels safe at school. I would recommend in the district. And by and large, they're very, very positive on a 5-point scale, mostly 4s and 5s across the board. Oh, this asked parents what their priorities were. And about 250 parents submitted responses, and that's about a third of our families. I mean, we have about 918 kids, but a lot of parents have more than one child, so it's about a third. It's a good sample. You want the next one? Yeah. So again, my child enjoys going to school. 30. Yeah. Yes, agreed. Any questions about the survey? It's nice validation that we're doing, good work, especially the recommendation of the school or the district. And communication is always one. Do we over communicate? Do we under communicate? And both the communication questions were like 86% favorable, which is, I think, a good sign. Yeah, for example. It's funny because some will say we don't communicate enough, and it's just way too many. Hitting the happy place is really hard. Any questions about that? Okay. Williams complaint. This comes in front of you 4 times, and no findings, no complaints. Good news.
All right. Any questions on that? All right. So Action Citizens Bond Oversight Committee expenditure recommendations. Do I have a motion? Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Do you want Veronica to go through the recommendations first?
Oh, we don't. We usually vote and then go over it. No. Okay. All right.
Usually call the motion, the first and the second, to put it on the table, and then you call for the vote after the presentation if there's any need to clarify anything. But so this is the list of the items that we presented to the Bond Oversight Committee, and we got their approval for all of the items on the list. Some of the items we actually have the proposals for, and of those items, they are on the consent agenda item. A couple of them are pending the final presentation by the vendors, getting the costs worked out. So the priorities that we presented are equal to $176,000 out of the fund balance of $583, which leaves a remaining balance of $361. And as you can see, this is the list of some pending items to, let me jump back real quick. So we see we have that available balance, and we went ahead and started making our next wish list for the available balance. None of those have been approved. They're just presented as topics to the committee, and we will meet with them early in the fall after we successfully enter into the agreements for the items that they did approve and get all those installed and up and running. And then we'll see what to do with the remaining balance of that $370,000 to $60,000.
And to go back in time, it seems like there's a good chance people in this room weren't even around when the bond was passed in 2012. It was a $7 million bond. We spent about 6.5 of it. But it had to be, all the expenditures have to be tied to the bond language. And it was really 3 pillars. It was technology. It's like we went 1-to-1. We did all our infrastructure. It was safety. So that was like the fencing. It was the Columbine locks, things like that. And then communication. So all these have to touch that language. We can't just randomly say we want a new bus.
Any questions? I guess my only question is, how do the items make it to the committee for review? Like how do those items get funneled up to be considered?
The technology director and the chief business official have worked on a Gantt chart for many years, projecting what items need to be refreshed based on their life cycle. And that document has been maintained since the birth of the project. And as things were done and updated, of course, the Gantt chart would be updated. So these items come from that document.
Okay.
And that document was shared early on with the committee. And in fact, when we developed the budget for the bond measure, we made the determination that we intentionally set aside some portion of the bond for the first level of refresh. Because putting all of these wonderful items in, it's great for the first 5 or 6 years, but they have to be replaced. They have useful lives. So those items are topical on the Gantt chart. And in the last year with Brianna, she has done a lot of the heavy lifting with seeking out appropriate vendors, getting comparatives, getting sample items. She's done a lot of work on this to ensure that we're actually bringing in the latest and the greatest that makes sense for what we need it for. So
These were
Did
one
that-
of the big recommendations, and the reason for this is that we did a tour with the oversight committee on the first meeting, and we're in the G wing, and it was pointed out that there was a glare coming down for the overheads.
Yeah, the projectors were on that list for, like, they have a useful life as well. Typically, it's the bulb that goes, and then you can replace that a couple times. But we knew that that was going to be part of it. But yeah, it was through that site visit, and actually, Brianna talking with teachers about how they were using the instructional materials that were in their classroom, that the interactive board came in. And so part of this is to, as you can see, install 8 in the G wing and see how they work in that scenario. Since that first initial plan, we've had conversations with Teresa about the actual execution of that and where on her side it might make sense. So it may be that all 8 go in the G wing, but once we have class configurations, it's a perfect example of how dynamic everything that we do in operating a school district is. Depending on the class configurations, depending on the enrollment, it will drive where she puts teachers. Will it be second graders, third graders, or will she be on the other side of the campus? And so, thank you. Let's vote.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, final read of 23-24 school calendar, instructional minutes, bell schedules. Can I have a motion, please?
Second.
You saw this last month. Again, it doesn't align perfectly with Salinas High unless they want to go mid-August, but we do try to have some overlap. Again, it talks about making sure instruction, your breaks are going to try to capture as many kids as possible and not give people a reason to take more days off. And then it's to try to align as much as Salinas High as possible, knowing we're a different district. So again, this is very similar to this year's. We had a calendar committee to go through it. What's that? What, as much as possible. A little bit.
All right, any questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. Schedule special board meeting for the 23-24 Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, and the 23-24 Budget Adoption Public Hearing.
We need to plug in some information there. So we need to have 2 in June. We're asking to make this one late in June to give us time to make sure the LCAP is complete. It's gone through all the having the first week of June, first meeting, kind of puts us in a tough situation with the LCAP. So we can push it as far as back as possible. We'd like to propose June 22nd, which is a Thursday. It keeps
Even the regular, the June 1st one, eh?
that one's, yeah, that'll be a public hearing. So our regularly scheduled June one will be the public hearing, but we need another one to approve. The second one's going to be, it's 2 items basically. It's very short. It can be any time of the day. The 22nd, Thursday, if that works for you guys.
But the first will still be our business, our regular.
Yeah,
business
the regular
meeting.
one, yes.
Okay.
Thursday the 22nd. Does that work? And if you want to do it earlier, morning, whatever. But again, it's after the public hearing. You guys set the time. It could be the normal time or it could be earlier. It's going to be a very short meeting.
So, I have a mixed state board meeting. It starts at 3:45. I don't know how long it's gonna go.
Okay.
It could finish on time for the normal start time. It may not. Maybe you don't need me for a quorum, but I can do the morning.
We could, whatever you works for you.
I'm good until 11 a.m. on
Yeah.
that day. And after that, I'm slammed.
Right now, it's open for me.
Okay.
Morning's fine for me.
Frank, you good?
Oh, wow.
9 o'clock?
It's a quick meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
9's fine with me.
Perfect. 9 on the 22nd.
Actually, 5 is fine with me.
No, thank you. So
Okay.
June 22nd, 5 o'clock. Sorry.
Nine.
God,
9 a.m.
9. Heard the rooster.
Okay, so can I have a vote, please? All in favor? Aye. For June 22nd, 9 a.m. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Is
Move to consent.
yeah, move to the consent agenda. Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Do I ask now? Does anybody want to pull anything? Okay. So all in favor of approving the consent? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Any future agenda items?
We'll keep track of attendance, but I think it's on there. It's already on there. That's it.
Okay. No? Frank? Okay, so we will, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Please.
Oh, and no second, right? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so adjourn. Thank you.